Hey guys, good to see you. Bunch of you already in here. Nice, nice. It's been a while, I think. Feels like forever, actually. Don is getting his golf stick ready. What is that supposed to mean? I'm assuming audio and video is good. Should be anyway. And yeah, there's plenty to talk about today, so it's gonna be fun. Let me see what you guys have said. Okay, I'm caught up. Nice, nice, nice. Looks and sounds great. Good to hear. Good to hear. So yeah, we've had a pretty nasty pullback yesterday. We'll talk about that in a bit, and we'll talk about altcoins too, and then we'll go from there. Before we start, big shout out to Blockfolio, or like FTX, formerly known as Blockfolio, for sponsoring the show. They still do all the portfolio tracking. They still do like the mobile app trading that you can do there. And they all do it really, really well. So if you want to check that out, I can only recommend doing so. If you want to check it out, the links to that are in the description. So yeah, it should be easy to find. Kretz already in the chat saying ETH ripping, Don sieving. Nah, man. Like the thing is, like ETH ripping right now is actually bearish, but we'll talk about that too. You don't want to be seeing that, in my opinion. But I've got a few bullish setups, so we can talk about like a bunch of this stuff. There's a lot going on. Like for the first time in a long while, there's actually a lot going on. So yeah. Solana all-time high right now. Yeah, it's fucking nuts. Like some of the altcoins are going nuts. Most of the other ones are just going to shit the bed or have already shit the bed. If it goes up, it's bearish. If it goes down, it's bearish. Nah. For the people that are confused by my comment, it's basically you don't want to be seeing the Bitcoin weakness into ETH strength. Like, I mean, that's basically where this nuke came from. I've talked about it a million times before, and now we're getting it like pretty much right into the nuke again, where ETH's outperforming Bitcoin, which you don't want to be seeing. But yeah, we will talk about it. Before we start with any of the small time frame stuff, higher time frame wise, it still looks really shitty in my opinion. Like the monthly looks exceptionally bad. That doesn't have to mean much because I mean, it's the monthly, right? And the monthly is not really like the most traded chart of them all. But I mean, if you want to make an argument for like a lower high kind of complacency bound setup, I mean, this is the best one you can make, and it's kind of looking like it even more so with the recent nuke, right? So that's kind of like the monthly time frame. With regards to support, there are not really any on the monthly time frame. So if you want to be buying anywhere, I don't think you should be looking at the monthly, right? If you're expecting like Bitcoin to go to 14K straight away, I doubt that's going to happen, right? So this isn't going to help you. If anything, it's just going to show you like where this could go next. And obviously big difference between log chart and non-log chart here. But even on the log chart, kind of looks like a lower high so far. I mean, it's not swung back down yet. But the monthly, I mean, this isn't something that you want to be longing into. The weekly, on the other hand, looks really good, in my opinion. So you have like this kind of, let me actually hide this real quick. You have the situation where you have a really bullish weekly chart, in my opinion anyway. It's like, it's not the most bullish given, like, let's say we close below this red line here. That wouldn't be the best news, but like we're still above 45K, right? And as long as it's above 45K in the weekly, that's not the end of the world, right? This is just right now, it looks like it should have been rejected here on the way up. It wasn't, it walked past it, and now it's just pulled back to it, right? So that's not the worst thing in the world. So you have the monthly, which looks really bad, and you have the weekly, which looks decently good, if not really good. So like the high time frames don't really help you because they're not really agreeing with each other, right? So you have the weekly on support. That's at least something. And then you have the daily looking really, really shit. Like this is as bad as it could look on the daily for me anyway. Besides some short-term kind of setup, which I usually like to look out for, which is when I have a support and then the support below it. What I usually try to do, and I mean, I couldn't do this because I was actually outside while this nuke was happening. But when I have a support that I think is gonna hold on a closing basis, I usually try to bid the support below it on a nuke. And we wrote about like the support on the newsletter. Sadly, it didn't get published. Like we finished it, I got out of the house, and then the market crashed basically. But usually I try to buy this for a short-term flip, and that's kind of like what this is, right? So we tested the daily support, bounced from it, still above this like daily area in the 46.2 area. So that's not the worst thing in the world. But I think like the daily chart, with it looking like it does right now, you want to be looking to sell bounces on the daily chart alone, right? So let's say this bounces into like 47.7, that would be a sell technically. And if you're wondering why, it's basically the same argument that I made back in here when we talked about it at 60K. This was the Coinbase news, right? Coinbase news, and we kind of did a breakout that didn't stay up, right? It's just like it was a fake breakout basically that led to downside. And I think we did pretty much the same thing here. So we had a fake breakout to the upside, broke to the downside, and I wouldn't be surprised if this fractals somewhat in this area. Not entirely expecting this to happen again, but at least like this wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So basically saying like we could be somewhere in here based on the daily chart alone. And like I said, like usually I try to do trades when every single time frame agrees, and that's not the case right now. So it's like not entirely clear. That's why I'm saying chill a little bit. If you didn't get caught by this, nice. There's probably gonna be like, you can have like short-term opportunities like this one, but that's already played out, right? And it's the same for ETH, and we'll go over ETH as well. But time to chill a little bit, see where things go, and then decide at that point. Don, you're a charts boomer. Bitcoin will go up because the candle closed nicely. Pretty absurd statement if you think about it. I mean, it would be if this wasn't like, if anyone cared about the fundamentals of any of this. The thing is, when you have something that like is just speculation, and that's like 99% of crypto, the charts matter a lot. They wouldn't matter as much, and this is why I'm like not sitting here doing the same thing for the SPX or for any traditional markets. That would be different, right? But if you're talking about Bitcoin, if you're talking about, and Bitcoin, even like Bitcoin is one of the ones that isn't as impacted. Like Bitcoin isn't just purely charts, but mostly. It's just speculation, right? We're all speculating on price to go up or down. And if that's what 95% of people do, that's going to lead prices to go up or down based on shit like this. But yeah, I mean, up to you. If you don't like it, why the fuck would you be hanging around, right? It's been kind of my edge in the market, and it's worked for me really well. So I don't know. It's like saying I don't even know what to say to that. If something works and you're like, I can't figure out why it does work, I mean, fuck it. Just make money with it. And that's what I've been doing anyway. But I get the argument because it does sound stupid. It's just like when you have like basically what these charts mean, right? It's just, this is all momentum, right? So you have momentum, and then once momentum breaks down, you have momentum and trends, right? And once momentum and trend breaks down, you usually kind of reverse that and do like a mean reversion. And those mean reversions are usually triggered the moment this stuff breaks. So you can use TA to just kind of indicate that. Or you don't, or you just do it with like a gut feeling or whatever. Either one works. I mean, I'm not going to say that like TA is the fix for everything, but it's been working pretty nicely. Wouldn't you say we lost bullish momentum now? Yeah, that's why I'm saying like this is pretty bearish. Especially like what I've been saying, right, is be bullish unless we lose 40K. And then we walked up, and I was like, be bullish unless we lose 49K when we moved above 49K. And now I'm saying be bearish unless we reclaim 50K, basically. So we get back above here, let's just fucking moon it, right? But now like the trade that was pretty obvious to the upside, which was being bullish above 40K, is now to the downside, which is being bearish as long as we don't reclaim this, and then you target lower. And this way you can kind of capture, even if you're like the slowest of the slow and you didn't get out, like, I mean, this was kind of starting to lean over really heavily. So, I mean, you could have kind of taken advantage of that and got out before. But even if you didn't, even if you waited for the daily close, right, you captured basically 7K of a movement, like, or almost from this close to this one, like 14%. And then you could do the exact opposite now. So, yeah. Momentum's kind of shit, in my opinion. The daily looks really shit. The weekly looks good, and the monthly looks shit. So, make of that what you want. With regards to the short term, if we close above 46.2, I could see us kind of bounce back into 47.8. But at that point, you have all of this trading activity in here that is underwater trying to get out. I would be very surprised if we didn't like at least do something like this and then went up if you're bullish, which I'm not expecting, like I said, because momentum's kind of to the downside now. So that's that. That's Bitcoin. With regards to ETH, same kind of situation as Bitcoin, closed at support. And we can flip this into green so people understand that it's actually support. So flipped support, right, which isn't bad. The question is, can this sustain? If anything, I don't think this is just going to be like a green candle all the way back up again. If anything, it's going to go sideways and then start creeping back up again. The one thing that I don't like I said earlier, is that ETH is starting to outperform Bitcoin again, which takes bit away from Bitcoin. And then if Bitcoin breaks down again, ETH's just going to take massive shit. And it looks really bad. But as long as this support holds, ETH isn't actually looking like technically looking rather okay. Like I said, the only problem that I have with ETH is actually that ETH strength is going to lead to Bitcoin weakness, unless Bitcoin shows some strength as well. So you kind of rely on Bitcoin doing well if you're into ETH, and that isn't necessarily a given right now. So ETH's a little bit difficult, but like the same thing applies to ETH will apply to Bitcoin. Like whenever you have like a support in here, that's rather strong that you expect to hold, right? You can just kind of long the support nearer to it. In this case, I only have like 2.7 on the chart, but there's like a bunch in here that you could draw, like for example this one, and usually like the one below it actually works for the wick when people get liquidated, because they don't really want to be selling, right? No one in this wick wanted to be selling, they just got forced to, and that's kind of like what happens all the time. So when you have like a clean support like this one and you're wondering why did it go below it, it's because like a bunch of people actually got forced to sell right through it, and then the people below that were kind of waiting to get filled on something deep, they got filled, and you can see it even better on Bitcoin, like I said, in this area. And it almost went to like the next support below it. Okay, any I had a stop loss on my ETH, learned from my first dip in May. Yeah, I hope it was pretty high up. Otherwise, that suck. Does the monthly really matter this early in the month? I mean, I don't really mind the monthly that is shaping up right now. I just don't like even if it looks, and this is something I said last month too. Can we do this? Oops. Let's do it actually like this isn't the prettiest monthly either. Like even if you don't have the current candle. Like there's a massive impulse to the downside and then there's two small candles to the upside. And I mean, like I said, you can see it better here. Like that's not necessarily the prettiest chart that you could imagine, right? You have like a massive candle to the downside and then a weak attempt to crawl higher. So that's why I'm saying the monthly isn't really pretty. Not necessarily because of this, even though this makes it look even worse than it already is. The only problem that you have with ETH is that it's going up, admit it? No. I've been quite, like, I've been saying be bullish on ETH over Bitcoin. And that's been because I've been expecting Bitcoin to pull back. Like, if you're a massive ETH bull, right? Or like in general, a massive altcoin bull against Bitcoin, what you at the same time, you're basically bearish Bitcoin, right? If you're bullish like any of the altcoins, you're bearish Bitcoin at the same time. It's just kind of the trade that you take. Usually when Bitcoin goes completely nuts, the altcoins don't do too well. And if the altcoins go completely nuts, Bitcoin is short before, like, is like in an area where it's probably gonna go down afterwards. There's only a few times where you actually have both going up together. On the ratio pairs anyway. Like you oftentimes, like Bitcoin USD goes up, ETH USD goes up, but weaker. Or like ETH USD goes up strongly, Bitcoin goes up a little bit. But like I said, you don't want to have them kind of go into different directions or like one showing too much strength over the other. And like the only times where it's like moving, like both moving in the same direction is when it's truly bullish. And that happens very, very rarely. Otherwise, it's usually just like you have Bitcoin flow and then it heads into ETH and then Bitcoin pulls back a little and then goes back and forth, back and forth. Don, how much of the up move from say 3.5K to 60K would you have made following your methods in Bitcoin? I mean, it depends, is my answer. I don't want to take the entirety of every move. Like, that's not what I'm here for, like, trading-wise. Like, if you're an investor, you just buy. And I mean, I saw that, like, the nuke was a good buying opportunity. And I bought a bunch into that, and I sold it relatively soon after, right? And I've traded around, like, a couple positions. And my trading, like in an up move like this, I'm not necessarily aiming to outperform this, if anything. Like if you want to be 100% in the move, you just buy something. What I want to be is I want to be trading this, and no matter where it goes, I want to take money out of the market every month or year to year, right? Let's say Bitcoin goes to 10K from here. I'm still reasonably certain, even if I just play one direction, which is long, or like buying, I'm reasonably certain I'm still gonna make money, right? Whereas like if you're a holder, that's not necessarily true, right? If it goes to 10K, you're gonna eat shit. And so that's like the advantage. Like the advantage of a holder is that if you buy this, or if you buy at all somewhere, it goes up, you make a bunch of money, right? If it goes down, you eat shit. The advantage of a trader is that it doesn't really matter. You can trade this, you can trade the setups that you get, and then you make money either way, even though like up moves are usually easier to trade than down moves. So like that question is relatively meaningless. I mean, I've had a bunch of bullish setups on the way up, but like the lion's share of the profits I made on the way up were just by holding, right? Which I don't do anymore. I sold 60K with my last holding stack. I don't need to like hold this anymore. I'm more than happy with trading unless something changes. I'm not really like, I don't like where the space is headed right now. So I'm not investing. I'm just trading, and but that's just me. And a bunch of people are gonna disagree. A bunch of people are gonna hate me for it. But I don't really care, right? I'm just here to make a bunch of money, no matter where this goes. And so far, that's been working in the last 5 years, anyway. That's kind of like, you always have downsides and upsides, right? Any trader that tells you like they're just trading, but they take every single like bottom and top, that's just not how this works. Like if someone tells you that they're trader and they bought this and they sold this on leverage, I mean, just run, because it's not true. Like, no one did that. If you're a holder and you bought down there and you just held, I mean, good fucking shit. But if you're a holder and you bought here and then you sold here because it got to you, the market dumping got to you, I mean, that's not surprising either, right? So like there's times where being a holder is much better if you time it right, and there's times where being a trader is much better, generally speaking. And I mean, I generally recommend to most people that they should be holding, because trading isn't for everyone, and most people can't stomach like moves up and down against their position without doing stupid shit. But given people still want to learn about it, I mean, I'm down to kind of share my mindset. But I mean, I'm not saying that's the best way to approach it. It's just my way to approach it. Well, can you elaborate where you see the space is going? I don't see where it's gonna go. That's like the thing. Like, I always had the feeling it was gonna go up. Now I have no idea. Like, it's probably gonna go up because it's always gone up. But like the recent developments that with like El Salvador has kind of, it just feels like shit. It kind of goes against what I believe Bitcoin should be. And then like in general, like the recent influx of people that don't really give a shit about any of what Bitcoin like is really good for, and only care about prices, makes me not want to be an investor. It makes me want to trade, because that's going to lead to a bunch of like this, where people get completely wrecked on both sides. But it's not going to like make me want to hold this thing. But that's probably going to change. Like, if it nukes and any of that changes, I'm more than down with it. It's just like right now I'm not like super excited like I used to be. But I'm more excited about trading it than probably in a long time, because it's moving a lot. Okay. So there we go. When you're in a position that is underwater above your stop, how do you mentally ignore that I'm down, but I'm still in the viewpoint of reaching my TP? I mean, you just try not to look at it if that's like what your problem is. Like, I usually can't just be like, okay, this is pretty chill. So for example, I've talked about this before. I've bought a bunch of puts and calls into the highs, basically expecting like, if this was gonna break out, I expected much higher, and if it was gonna break down, I expected much lower. And I basically bought them here, right? And then I mean, I kept adding a little bit here, and price went up, and those went underwater, right? But I was still like, okay, I'm expecting this to go lower, and then it broke down and made a bunch of money on that. It's still like, it's only small positions, because I'm not really options traders. I just wanted to kind of try it out, and I felt like it was a good opportunity to kind of bet on either complete market downturn or breakout. And in the end, that turned out to be correct. But yeah, I just wanted to try it out. And I just didn't really look, because I knew when and where I was invalidated, and don't really like, you don't have to sit there watching your position 24/7. That's going to do you more harm than good. But it just comes with experience, I think, because the longer you kind of have dealt with positions that are underwater before your stop, and in general, like with trading, the better you're going to be with it. How do you know when it's best to be a holder versus a trader? I mean, that's completely subjective, and it's impossible. Like if I knew, then I mean, I'd be the richest man in the world if I knew 100%. But generally speaking, when I expect a big trend to form, I try to be a holder. And if you guys remember, I was trading this still, as like I usually do as a trader, this entire range basically. And then it started breaking out above 12K, and I was like, okay, this is probably gonna go. It's a trend forming move. So I'm gonna be on betting on that. And that's not by doing leverage or any of that shit. That was just basically by me making sure I wasn't selling like too much too early. Now I sold a bunch on the way up, but like that's the holder mentality. You know the trend is coming, and it ran up, right? And once you kind of feel like the trend's stopping, and I mean, that's basically how I felt like at the 60K area, then you try to sell that. But if you're wrong, you just turned yourself into a trader for no real reason. So like flipping back and forth is usually not the thing that you want to be doing. Like either you have like a holding stack or a trading stack. It's just right now I don't want to have a holding stack because like I said, I have a few problems with how the space is going. So I'm more than happy to just have a trading stack, and that's more than plenty for me. And that's been growing. So, I mean, basically what we've been doing is we've been going sideways with like a little bit of direction downwards, and both my USD and my BTC stack in the trading department up. So pretty happy about that. No, done 90% of traders lose money. I would say less so in crypto, but yeah, 90% of leverage traders in crypto probably. The spot traders, I mean, you would have to do really shitty, like really poorly to be 90%. I don't think that's the case for like spot trading in crypto, because there's much higher upside in crypto than there's almost anywhere else. Okay, that's Bitcoin. That's ETH. I'll answer some more questions, but let's go through like a few charts before we do that. ETH BTC still ranging. There's nothing interesting in this. We talked about this like ages ago, where it's like, okay, if you're bullish, be bullish down here. I think that was target up here, and if you're bearish, I mean, wait till you lose 0.055. That's still accurate, I think. If you're bull still, your target should still be 0.08, and if you're bear, you should still be waiting for 0.05 to give. Because I think both, like if this were lost, I think that would be a trend forming move. But like while we're in here, you don't want to be bearish, and you don't want to be like starting new positions that close to resistance anymore either, I think. So that's like ETH BTC is super boring. ETH USD we talked about. Someone asked me about XRP. I still think XRP is a pretty good setup. I'm glad I sold mine because I mean the nuke absolutely nuked it. But I'm gonna be buying back my XRP the moment I think Bitcoin has calmed down, and I don't know when that's gonna be. Might be like in the next few days. Might be after the next wipe if we get one. But yeah, that's kind of like my XRP view. Like the setup, like on the lower time frames, kind of meh. But on the higher time frames, on the Bitcoin pair, still looks good. You still have this setup of this, which you could easily do, right? So neckline here, you go sideways. Might even take like a year, but like in general, looks relatively good. On the Bitcoin pair to me, and on the USD pair also pretty nice. Like got a pretty nice dip into 0.9 area, which I'm like 99% certain I talked about before was the level to buy the dip at. Now I didn't because I was not at home, but that was a pretty nice dip into support. But I don't want to, like right now, I don't want to get into it because I'm more focused on what Bitcoin's going to do. I think there's more there. And if Bitcoin's going to break fully down, these altcoin setups are going to get at least temporarily disabled. it's just how it is, right? Everything follows Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin breaks up, I think there's a good chance, right? Let's say Bitcoin actually like plays this bullish setup that it has here to the upside and does break this resistance, goes to the next one, breaks that too. At that point, I think it would just go completely mental, and then you'd not be having any fun on the Bitcoin pairs. So for me, that's the main reason why like I don't mind too much missing like on the altcoins, besides like the initial kind of jump. And what I mean by that is this wick, obviously, right, is obviously quite big, but the wick on the altcoins is always going to be bigger, right? So XRP, for example, like that's this 18% wick. Bitcoin did how much? I didn't even check before. 9, right? So if you bought the bottom of XRP, you gain twice as much. And that's usually like, that's 99% of the case. Like that's 99% of the time the case, where you have like, if Bitcoin dumps, altcoins just cascade even harder. And then you can play the bounce play on the altcoin pairs if you see the Bitcoin bottom being in, at least short term. So like that is something that you can do, but afterwards, not really worth the time right now anyway, because I think Bitcoin's too dicey, like in too dicey of a spot, even though like there's a good chance we're going to calm down the next 2 or 3 days and you're going to see like a little bit of recovery on the altcoins. Not enough to me to kind of get into it. ADA has the super wick. Yeah, a bunch of the coins. Solana is like nuts too. Someone asked about Solana earlier. Like Solana dumped here and immediately went back to all-time high, right? So on the USD pair, you can see it better, right? So get a wick of like 27 whatever percent, and then you go back to all-time high. And that's usually the case. Like people always try to buy the laggards, right? But you want to be focusing on the pairs that are strong. And we actually talked about Solana, I'm pretty sure, yeah, back before this breakout, where it's like, if this breaks the diagonal and the horizontal, it's just gonna go. Now, I didn't expect it to go this hard. Not gonna claim cloud for something that I didn't like. I thought it was just gonna be like a leg maybe up here, but I didn't expect it to just completely go nuts. But that's crypto. That's why we love it. What makes Solana so special though? It's just the flavor of the month, in my opinion. Now, I'm not a fundamental kind of guy, so you don't need to ask me about the fundamentals, but like it's the same with ADA, right? ADA is kind of like garbage, as far as I understand. Nothing really works on ADA. Still went up a shitload just because it's the flavor of the month. Solana, same thing. Link used to be the same, right? Everyone was talking about Link. And then it stopped being the flavor of the month or flavor of the year. And then it started going sideways or underperforming pretty much everything else. That said, I mean, that was a really nice trade to be had on Link. I hope some of you actually like got out at resistance, which is pretty, like, this was a pretty decent setup. I sold too early on Link. I sold into 31, sold a little bit into like the rally from there. So like it might look really good right now, but that's only a couple percent of, like I sold roughly here and it's only like 10% lower right now. So could have timed my exit better, but it's what it is. It's all hype. First it was Link, then Doge, now it's Sol. Yeah, that's kind of how the crypto markets work in general. Like it's 90% hype, and then like that behind Sol, there's probably something there. Like I said, don't ask me about the fundamentals, but I think there is something there. It's just, it's still aided by the hype, obviously. Sol the same as ADA. I'm not saying it's the same as ADA. I'm saying ADA was the flavor of the month for a while, and then Sol became the flavor of the month. I'm not saying fundamentally they're the same thing. I'm just saying like ADA did really well because it was highly regarded in the noob scene, people that have no idea about crypto. And Solana is flavor of the month right now because it's basically a Sam coin, and everyone loves Sam, including me. So yeah. Hex, please? No. Fuck off with the scams. Don is sex a scam? Yes. So there we go. Sorry. What is the flavor of next month, sir? I mean, the flavor of next month is probably the flavor of current month. This is always the case. Like people are always AVEX, right? People are always. I didn't actually. I meant this one. What was it called? Did I mean AVEX? Whatever. I forgot my tickets. Been a long week. But yeah, for example, with this or with pretty much every FTT we can go over to, like this goes up, and then people are like, "What's the next flavor of the month?" Right? And then it actually starts going. Right now it kind of looks really shit. If it loses this on a weekly closing basis, not really good. But usually when you have something that performs well, it's gonna keep performing well. So the flavor of next month is most likely gonna be the flavor of current month. So if Solana is gonna do well, it's probably gonna do well next month in comparison to everything else as well. And FTT, for example, has done relatively well as well. Probably gonna continue doing so. Like people always try to, like they see this and they're like, okay, this is too high for me to buy in. I'm gonna buy, what's the worst thing that I can think of? I'm gonna buy BSV because it's at the floor and it wants to go up, right? But this is weak for a reason and the other one is strong for a reason. Do you always use log to draw your support resistances? No, but it doesn't matter one bit. Like log only changes, like look at the number here, 0.007959 on log, and on non-log it's the same thing. The only times where log and non-log makes difference is when you draw trend lines. Because then I drew this randomly and you can see how this moves, right? I can actually put it on the chart and then you can see the difference there, how it moves. And I mean, I can show one even better. Do we have like a clean chart somewhere? So for example, like let's draw one here, right? And you see, or like let's draw a proper one so people don't hate on me again. Like you have a trend line here, it's resistance on log, right? And then you turn log off and you're like, what the fuck, who drew this? Like what baboon kind of drew this trend line? But it's just log versus non-log. And yeah, there's a big difference there. But since I don't draw too many trend lines, it doesn't really matter. And if you do draw trend lines, I mean, that's something that you're gonna have to figure out which ones you prefer, which ones work more often than not. What do you recommend to newbie traders? I mean, just try to start with something. And we had a really good podcast with Kyle about this. He said, basically start winning, like start with like from a position of winning, which in like, for example, in crypto can be, we were at 60K, right? Trading Bitcoin at 60K and the futures were at 70K, right? Or like, I don't know the exact numbers anymore in my head, but you can capture that difference, right? And start with something easy like that where you can't really go wrong, right? And then you kind of figure out the market from there. So you start out with stuff where you can only win. And there's a bunch of opportunities in cryptos where there's like only winning, right? So let's say you have Bitcoin and you see like that the futures are trading above where Bitcoin is trading, and then you go wherever that is and you kind of try to capture the difference by selling the futures down with the Bitcoin that you have. You don't want to like go leverage into that. You just want to capture the difference, right? Doesn't mean you should go in there and be like, okay, I'm gonna 50x short, but like go at it from that kind of perspective. And that was his kind of advice, and I really like that. I think it's the same thing. You want to be like starting out learning the market by kind of being unable to lose, and then kind of venturing from there. You're gonna start understanding how the market works if you do that. Like try to look for an edge that you can only win at, even if it's like tiny, even if you just make it a few percent here and there, and then go from there. Because if you start like out and then you start losing the entire time, it's not fun. And yeah, you're gonna just give up. Newbie traders should do paper trading. I mean, that's also fine. But I think like getting your toes wet with like strategies that are gonna make you win with real money is gonna be the most rewarding. Paper trading is very, very different from actual trading, but it's still like you should still test out the exchanges, see how they work. If you can, with like tiny balances, see what you're doing right, see what you're doing wrong, give it some time, and then trade with a tiny percent of what you have. Don't just all in because you think, okay, the market's gonna crash or the market's gonna boom. And that's gonna be like the only way where you can long-term lose in this market. Because long-term, the market has been going up only. But there's a bunch of stuff that you can look at. Okay. So yeah, I mean, we talked about Link already. I sold my Link. We talked about XRP. I sold my XRP, but I want to buy that back on like as soon as I kind of get a good reason to do so, based on Bitcoin, not based on XRP. And we talked about Bitcoin. We talked about ETH. Anything else that I'm forgetting? By the way, AXS is pronounced as Axis. I can see it, yeah. Like the video for the algorithm, boys. I mean, appreciate that reminder because I would have forgotten to ask for it. But yeah, feel yourself harassed by me saying it. By, like, who said it? Joey said it. Joey is telling you to like the video, so do Joey a favor. Luna would be sweet. I don't think Luna's in any way interesting right now, but we can look at it. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really there that's too exciting. Like if you bought the dip, nice. This one didn't go to lower one, which would have interested me. But like, what do you want to do with this? There's not really that much there. The only thing that I can see on Luna is kind of like this fake breakout, consolidation, breakdown into retest, which, I mean, if it goes back above, goes back into this area without all of these people that bought in here selling off, I mean, then you might have like, you might have a rally on your hands. But until then, I mean, it just looks like it wants to go sideways here and then dump. But could be wrong. It's not something I'm trading. If it dumped further, I might have, because it's actually on my list, on the ones that have been strong that I want to be looking at. But given it didn't, right, didn't reach my support, not much that I can do there. Good night, mate. It's 1 a.m. here already. Good night, mate. It's way too late here too. I'm super tired. Still looking at Vechain or Raven. Right now I'm focusing on just a handful of coins. Like I'm trying to get like an XRP position. I'm thinking about trading Link again. So not right now. I don't mind the setups too much, but now like it's starting, like this is not really pretty on Vechain's behalf. Like not the biggest fan, not really bearish, not really bullish. So like I'm not gonna be touching this. There's better setups for me. Like I bought this, it rallied a little bit, I sold it, not much there. And with regards to Raven, where is it? There. I still think that's a good like coin to look at. But yeah, like I said, I have a few fundamental plays that I want to be doing. Like XRP is one of them, where it's like more obvious to me why they should be going up. But It's still like if you're looking for a coin that's been showing strength, and it's something that you should be looking at, in my opinion. That's why I've been like talking about Solana. That's why I've been talking about like AVAX and Luna and that kind of stuff being like interesting to me, because they've shown strength while others haven't, right? So you want to be betting on the strong horses basically, and you don't want to be stuck buying the ones like ICX, for example. Like, yeah, you can buy this, right? And maybe you're gonna make money on it. It's just, it's not moving much, right? So you're wasting your capital being stuck in something that isn't moving much. You want to be where the action is, basically. If you're not where the action is, unless you know something that most other people don't, right? So, for example, for me, before this XRP move, right, I was like, okay, I know that that there's gonna be some hype around the SEC case. I know that this is a good setup. And unless you have something like that, like there's no real reason to look at the other coins that look like that. You want to be looking for ones that have shown strength, and then you're like, okay, this is interesting to me. Like, why did they show strength? Then you research why they did. Like, you don't want to necessarily buy into like Coinbase listing or something, because that's going to get you wrecked most of the time. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from. Do you like the look of Link ETH? I haven't looked at it. Can look at it. Probably not. I remember like that I looked at it and I was like, I'm gonna make a bunch of money on this. Yeah, fucking hell. I got out pretty nicely on Link, not gonna lie. That's pretty damn good escape. No, I don't like the look of that. Maybe down here. 50% haircut against ETH again. And then maybe. But yeah, that's crazy, right? If you look at this, it's down 80% against ETH. It's pretty rough. Doge. We can talk about Doge, but I think Doge's fucked, honestly. Like, I don't want to be buying Doge in general, but like when you have a strong setup like this inverse head and shoulders thing setup that fails, usually you're in for some pain, right? And I mean, I'm gonna kind of expect chop at best if we go back up here, because the setup's still invalidated. Still looks like garbage, because you don't want to be something that I've been talking about, right? There's like these setups where it breaks down and it reclaims, and then goes up, right? But what you don't want to be seeing, like you see this reclaim, you position yourself long or whatever, and then it breaks back down again, and then and then goes back up, right? Because in this case, it probably like one, the support's just shit. So you kind of have to redraw it in a different way, and two, it just wants to chop. So it could go up or it could go down, and it's nothing really, like it's not a good setup. So even if this heads back up, you have like an undercut of support, and then another one, which is to me just a chart I don't want to be trading. It's just shown me that it's not able to hold the support and not trade off of the best setup that it can, especially when it's a coin that is still up in the last, 12 months, not 10 months or whatever, still up like 2.9% off of like unfounded hype. I wouldn't. Like, it's Dogecoin, like legitimately Dogecoin, right? Nothing behind it. So when the chart doesn't look extremely good, or if it's not extremely low, I'm not interested. But right now the chart isn't even looking good. It's looking rather bad, right? With resistance or like support turned into resistance kind of thing. Not good, in my opinion, anyway. Oh yeah, we can talk about the title actually. Wow, this is proper clickbait, because I actually wanted to like talk about it immediately and then forgot. Good that you mentioned it. Actually proper clickbait too, because it's at the end of the video. Fucking hell. I feel bad now, I'm sorry. With regards to the title, right? I titled the video "Big Correction, Bull Market Over." The reason why I've titled it that way, right, and we've talked about this like a bunch of times, is that we've been talking about like a possible kind of complacency shoulder forming, right? As in, you have a high here, and then it crashes down, everyone gets bearish, and it bounces, and everyone's like bull market back on, right? And that's kind of what happened, especially with like a bunch of people jumping into the NFT hype, with like people jumping into like other ecosystems, jumping into ETH, right? The entire market went nuts during this time. So there's a good chance this is actually the complacency bounce, right? And if I was the same guy that I was in 2018, I would be shorting any chance I get, right? Now, I'm not. Back then, I had like a Bitcoin to protect, right? I had like an investment strategy that I kind of had to hedge with my trading. I don't have that anymore, so I don't need to. I can just buy dips and be more than happy. But I think there's a good chance that this is a complacency shoulder, right? I'm not saying it's 100%, but it could be that like the Coinbase listing was the top, and this is the complacency shoulder. The invalidation of that would be reclaim of 50K basically, and then trading higher. And the confirmation is still the same, right? Break below 40K, I think kind of nails, like puts the nail in the coffin. So while we're in the middle of that, you can kind of choose whichever you like more, right? If you're bullish, if you're believing in the super cycle, I think this is a good area to buy the dip at, because I mean, you're either going to be wrong pretty much immediately and you're going to get fucked in the next week, or you're probably going to be right and then it moons and it's not going to stop. So for me, I'm going to be jumping on board if I get to in the 50K area, or on any bullish setup that I get down here, really. But if it starts breaking down, I'm just going to expect a bear market, a lengthy one, right? So, I mean, to answer the question, basically, no one knows, right? This is like, I hate when people say, yeah, so it could go up or down, but like no one has any kind of certainty about the market. My kind of feel of it is that I think the chances of this being the complacency shoulder are higher than it not being it, but I'm more than happy to be proved wrong above 50K, because I think above 50K, those odds flip again, and then you can just mega moon it. And below 40K, I'm just going to assume that assumption is right. And anything in between, you just trade the chart like it's in front of you. Like I said, 44K, good support. That was like a really good dip to buy. And if you did buy it, I mean, 47.7 is a good resistance to sell just based on trading. And then anything beyond that is just going to be hoping that either the bullish setup on the weekly plays out, or like if you're bear, hoping that the bearish setup on the monthly plays out. Because I mean, that's as coin flippy as it gets when you have like 3 time frames disagreeing with each other. So no clear answer on the question, in my opinion. Like I'm not gonna be too aggressively bullish in the next few weeks. Don't really see the point unless we start breaking back up again. Because really, if we challenge this at all, like with a close above 57 or something, as you can see here, that shouldn't be happening. Like if anything, if this is a complacency bounce, it should start looking like this pretty much. You have that top, you crash down and you grind back up and then fuck off again. So like there's a neat invalidation for both setups. Like if you're bull, you can buy and then hope like it doesn't go below 40K. And if you're bear, you can look for sells and hope it doesn't go above 50K. And the reason why I think those areas are important basically is because I think those are basically gonna get momentum rolling. And that's what I always talk about when I say, okay, if we get to that area again, it's gonna go further up. And the reason why I'm saying that is because at that point, I think people are gonna get liquidated. And like, let's say we head back up here again, I think you're gonna get 1, massive liquidations. 2, people are gonna kind of notice that they're completely off sides, not positioned for the potential upside this thing has. And then the momentum is gonna kick in again. So as dumb as it sounds when I'm saying, okay, if we go back above this line, it's gonna moon. That's just how it works in crypto. And it's the same thing if we lose support, right? Because at some point people are gonna be like, holy fuck, maybe this is the complacency bounce. And if enough people believe it, this thing can easily crash 50% without anyone, like without any fundamentals changing whatsoever. Because like I said, most of the people in this market are speculating, and people try to meme themselves into the institutional people aren't in for speculation. It's not true. Most people are in this market to speculate. So there you go. That's kind of my answer to the title. No, that's a little bit of a roundabout way of saying up or down, but I mean, that's just how the market is. And my last up or down thing was basically saying here, I think we're going to break up massively or down massively. And then I played that with options. So like there's value in even up or down. Like if you know exactly that you're going to move massively in one way or the other, you can take value out of that still. And that's what I did in this case, because I was kind of like, I wanted to find a way to shut the people up that say up or down, because it fucking annoys me. And options seem to be a good way to do it. Will there be a shift into coins like XRP if we dump, like in 2018? No, I don't think so. If we dump, I think everything dumps. And then we just pick up the pieces. And if it goes sideways here, I think the altcoins are going to do well-ish. And if Bitcoin goes up too crazily, altcoins are going to do poorly again. So. What do you think of people saying this dump was just a leverage squeeze? Yeah, sure. Like every other dump in crypto. And I mean, this was also leverage squeeze. And then you got another one. And then it fucked off to basically zero. And then it went up again. And this was also a leverage squeeze. Like all of these are. And then it's just the question of, like, can you squeeze some more? Can you fuck people over more or not? And are there actually spot buyers that want to buy this thing? And if there are, it's going to go up. And if they're not, it's going to go down. So, I mean, yes, obviously, like this is always, like these moves are always leverage squeezes. It's a question of, like leverage squeezes usually, like these big moves are leverage squeezes and they can be trend forming, but they can also just be faded immediately. So that doesn't really help you. Like figuring out that this is just a leverage squeeze. I mean, leverage squeezes are pretty much present at every single top, but they're also present in the middle of the move. So like that distinction is just kind of meaningless. Have you done FTT already? I mean, FTT is the same as Sol, like up only until things change. Like FTT, BTC, look at this. Yeah. We talked about this on like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when it was down here, where I was like, this is a bullish retest technically. But I mean, I like a fucking idiot, I didn't buy any. Like, I mean, this is on me. Should have really, even more so because I was looking to buy some actually. But yeah, I was a bullish setup into like support, and FTT USD had the same setup as well. That's why it was so enticing. But if you have a chart like this, right? Yeah, it's just gonna keep going up until it stops, and there's nothing really that you can do with TA to kind of say where it's gonna stop or how it's gonna stop. Only after it has already stopped, you can kind of use TA to kind of figure out if you should be getting out or not. I think there are spot buyers, just a guess though. Yeah, it's a question of are there more spot buyers than spot sellers? It's all very, very philosophical. And I mean, like the on-chain guys all got wrecked by this move. And they're like, oh, gonna learn from it. But it's just, yeah, I don't know. The on-chain guy is gonna be on-chaining and it's always gonna be bullish. And then it dumps and they're like, holy shit, did not expect this. Not gonna happen again. And then it happens again. And it happens again and again and again. And then like, okay, moves above like 10% to the downside are impossible, and moves down 50%. And they're like, oh shit, my bad, but not gonna happen again. And it's just like over and over and over again, same shit. Whatever tool you use, I mean, if you're certain that something's not gonna happen, crypto is gonna tell you or show you that it's very, very very, very possible. It's just how this market works. We understand as billionaire, you forget sometimes to make more money. No, that's not how it. I mean, yeah, it's just like sometimes you just do mistakes, right? And this was one of them. I do dumb shit too, all the time actually. Like my dumb shit is not like bad trades or whatever, it's just missed opportunities. Like I can't remember the last really bad trade I took, because even if you lose, a trade can be good, right? If you expect a trade, like if you have a trade that works 7 out of 10 times and makes you more money than it loses you, it's always going to be a good trade. Even on the 3 times where it loses you money, it's still going to be a good trade. You'd be an idiot not to take those 3 times as well, right? So like with regards to trading, and this is something I see a lot of people like kind of do wrong. Like they figure out a system and then they trade it and then it works 5 times in a row and they're like, holy shit, I've found the holy grail, and it's like doesn't work 3 times in a row. And like, fuck, I was just lucky. And it just abandoned it all. And it's not how this works, right? You want to test stuff often enough that you can kind of figure out if there's actually something there or not. Because there's a lot of chances in this thing. And I mean, you could flip you could flip a coin and kind of trade off of that. And if you do it long enough, you're going to feel like, holy shit, there's actually some, like you're going to have like a streak of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 wins in a row. And then you're like, holy shit, coin flipping is the way to go. But I mean, it's going to take you a little while to kind of figure out what works and what doesn't. Yeah. Good trade doesn't have to be a winning trade is all I'm saying. But like my mistakes are on the missing opportunity side of things. And I feel like this year I've missed a bunch, which is not good. But then again, I've been telling myself I'm going to take it easier. And that's something that I've been doing. So it just comes with not being stuck in front of the screen 24/7. And that's been really good for me. So it's kind of like you kind of have to find the balance, right? I want to short Sol, but it's damn scary. It can pump 10% in a second. Even with risk management, it's scary. I don't know why you want to be shorting the strongest thing. Like let's look at Sol USD, right? Let's look at it on the 4-hour chart, and then you do this, and then you look at what's been a weak coin. Let's say Bitcoin Cash, because that hasn't really moved much on the USD pair on the 4-hour chart, right? So Bitcoin Cash didn't really go up much, right? Sol just mega mooned from like 25 to 200, right? Almost to the 10x in the last whatever, not long, right? Bitcoin Cash didn't do any of that. The crash, right? When we had this massive candle to the downside, from the high to the low of Sol, took Sol down 36%, right? The high to the low of Bitcoin Cash took it down 27%. So you could be shorting Sol and you could be saying, holy shit, I would have made more money. But look at the result, right? Look at, if you shorted the strong one and didn't immediately get out, you'd be fucked by now. If you shorted the weak one and didn't get out immediately, you'd still be 18% in profit. So I don't understand the kind of obsession of people to kind of short the strongest thing in the market. Yeah, I mean, it's going to go down at some point again, but why do you make it so hard for yourself? Like, I don't get it. Like, there's no setup there. There's no high time frame setup on, like, if there was, right, we could talk about it. We could be like, okay, yeah, we're shorting this setup with like tight risk reward, whatever. But there's nothing here, right? So you're just trying to be the hero that shorted the top of Sol, instead of just taking your money elsewhere and then just being happy with what you get there, which is going to be like 5 or 10% less if you nail the absolute top. But if you do nail the top, you'd at least going to keep it, because, yeah, I don't know. Just, I don't know. I feel like people have this unhealthy obsession with catching bottoms and catching tops, and kind of seeing something that they have had like FOMO for kind of bleed out is like I've seen so many people that see like, okay, Sol moved a shitload, so I want to see it move all the way back down again because I'm angry I didn't catch it. And it's like the worst attitude you can have in trading. Like, what the fuck kind of attitude is that? It's just gonna lose it all. And I'm not saying like there's never gonna be a time to short Sol. It's just it's the strongest for a reason, right? So why not short the weakest one that is showing you that people are willing to sell it instead of the strongest one, which shows you that people have massive FOMO to get back into this thing? I don't know. It's just like how I look at the market. It would never make sense to short Sol. Like if I had to short something, for example, like a friend of mine, and I mean, I sold my link, and a friend of mine at the highs asked me what he could hedge with, because he was like feeling like the market was gonna turn down, and I was like, link kind of hit its. Let me actually. And I was telling him link actually hit like a low time frame resistance, right? And I said the USD pair just kind of took the highs, whatever, is in an area of resistance too, right? So look at that if you want to like kind of trade something, because there's a trade there, right? This isn't necessarily the strongest pair, even though like I had a like not a bad bullish setup before. Like this isn't necessarily the worst to short at that point, right? I would never have suggested Sol. And there's a good reason for it. Like if you've been in this market, strong shit can remain stronger than you'd ever expect for much, much longer than you can expect. So there you go. That's my opinion on it anyway. Don't let me kind of prevent you from shorting the top of Sol though. And I mean, if it crashes, it's probably going to crash more than the rest. It's just, it's really, really hard to time tops. It's much, much easier to get a good setup on weak coins than strong ones. The best traders I know don't care about catching tops and bottoms, just catch a percentage of the move and move on, says Rookie Osiris. Yeah, kinda. It's obviously easier to kind of hold the position if you catch the absolute pico top and pico bottom. But yeah, most of the really good traders don't catch the bottom and don't catch the top. They just notice when the trend is shifting, and then they get in and then they get out at some point. Is Sol going full moon not as scary as ETH going up? I think it's pretty bad too. You don't want to be seeing Sol go completely nuts either. I think like in general, like right now, any altcoin strength is really bad for Bitcoin. You don't want to have it. So yeah. If Bitcoin spikes down to like 40K, what do you look for to decide buy the level? Wait for like 38K. Let me see. Really, really hard right now. I don't know. I don't know whether I'm gonna buy 40K or not. I'm gonna be looking for buying at that level, obviously. And if I get it, I think like in general, like I'd be buying 37. Like if you crash again, which doesn't have to happen. People always like when I'm saying, okay, this is leaning bearish to me, they're like, okay, this is gonna like 100% gonna go down, and they leverage trade and hate me for it if it doesn't work out. So I'm not guaranteeing that it's gonna go down. But if it does crash again, right? Let's say it does the same thing again. I think you don't want to be buying 40K. You want to be catching the wick at 37, and then you want to be kind of prepared for like it's probably gonna bounce at 37 if it crashes again, and then you want to see how strong that bounce is. And if the bounce is strong enough to take it back above 40K, I'm gonna hold on to it, and if not, no. And if I don't get it, I'm gonna buy higher. There you go. But you want to be seeing buying, you want to be seeing strength, and that's obviously gonna be different looking every single time. If we catch one of these moves, and I might do like an extra stream someday during like a crash after I've already positioned, so we can talk about like how that looks, how strength looks on the lower time frames and that kind of stuff. But then again, like I don't know if I can do it because if I'm gonna have to manage my position, it's gonna be difficult, and no stream is gonna get in between me managing my positions. So there you go. Hope that helped. I'm actually super tired. I don't know. I've been sleeping really poorly in the last in the last week, so gonna try to catch up on that. And gonna watch the chart because I think it's super interesting where we are right now. Even more so with like this mega nuke. Those are usually trend forming in my experience, but don't have to be. And if they're not, it's one of the strongest kind of trend continuation patterns that you can have is when you have like a high like this get retested, and then usually it just goes completely ballistic. So either way, like if you go up, it's gonna go completely nuts. As long as we're down here, I'm gonna expect it's gonna go down, and if we do go down, it's gonna be nuts as well, in my opinion. So it's gonna be fun to trade. Hope me talking you through this helped you in any way. I don't know. That's always the goal, I guess. And yeah, thanks for coming by. Big shout out to FTX for sponsoring the show. They were formerly known as Blockfolio, as you know. Yeah, you should check their stuff out if you're interested in any kind of mobile stuff, because they're the best at what they do in the mobile department anyway. So yeah, thanks for coming by. Links to the sponsor in the description, and we'll see each other on hopefully Friday, but I can't guarantee it because my weekend's been kind of nuts. So maybe I'll do like an extra stream tomorrow or something if the market moves, because I'm trying to keep my weekends free because I've got real life stuff to kind of take care of. But yeah, thanks for coming by, and always fun to chat with you guys. See you next time. Bye bye.